Doing? Hey, man, it is good to see everybody here. And whether you're watching us online or you're here in the building, man, it is such a privilege and an honor to be here with you on your Christmas Eve, to be here with your families, to be sharing in this time together. First off, let me just ask, just so I can kind of get a little pulse of the room, what is everybody's favorite Christmas movie? All right, you got to tell me all at one time. All right, I'm going to count down from 3. I'm just going to go 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to say it, okay? Ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Awesome, that's mine too. That's seriously, I don't know how you got it. My favorite Christmas movie of all time is The Christmas Story. I love that movie. We've already watched it a number of times in our house. We will watch it again sometime in the next 24 hours or so, probably a few more times. But the other one in our house right now that we're watching a ton is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Any fans on How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Okay, so which one do you like? How many of you like the original best? All right, how many of you like the Jim Carrey version, the live action? Okay, how many of you like the new one, the new animated one that's really sweet? Nobody, okay? We got a few. Well, I think we have quite literally watched all of them, probably 3 or 4 times already in our house. My daughter, Charlotte, my youngest daughter, Charlotte, loves the movie. She was having some bad dreams about the Grinch. And so we had to tell her over and over again, look, the Grinch is a good guy, but that was hard to convince her of because she had seen YouTube videos. That's kind of been a trend this Christmas of having nice Christmas pictures taken and then having the Grinch sneak up behind them and scare them and photograph the kids' reactions. Some of them are just heartbreaking. They just break down in tears. Some of them quite hilarious. They try to punch the Grinch as many times as they can. So any number of reactions, there's all kinds of different ones. Well, my daughter Charlotte had already seen those. And so that's the Grinch she knew was the Grinch that came and scared little kids. And so she was having bad dreams, and so we had to tell her, look, the Grinch, he starts out a bad guy, but he becomes a good guy. And so we showed her the movie, and it has started a rabbit trail of Grinch in our house. We watch it every day, multiple times a day. And it's great because, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, man, if we think about that in just like the year 2020, the year 2020 stole Christmas. I almost entitled the message that, How the year 2020 stole Christmas. It has been an insane year, hasn't it? It has been insane. It's been unlike any year that I've lived through. It has stolen so much, 2020 has. One of the strangest things that it stole was my sense of smell. We got the COVID-19 earlier in the year. We got it in November, about mid-November, and 4 or 5 days in, it stole my sense of smell. And that is one of the strangest things ever. Could you imagine kids not being able to smell anything? Like your favorite smells, you couldn't smell any of it. Your mom's fresh baked cookies, brownies in the oven. For me, it was coffee. How many of us, we just love the smell of coffee? We wake up to it in the morning and we breathe in that fresh cup of coffee until that one day when I breathed in and it was just like a humidifier. Nothing. It was the strangest thing. And so, of course, I had known from a friend who had gotten it before me and had lost his sense of smell. He's like, I tried to smell every essential oil that we had in the house. And so what did we do? I said, honey, go get the essential oil. So I'm smelling all the different essential oils, the thieves with the cinnamon in it, nothing. The eucalyptus, and there's nothing. The peppermint, nothing. Nothing smelled like anything, which can have its benefits too. Right? Anyone who's ever potty trained a child knows that can be a benefit. Although when you walk around with a kid with a dirty diaper and you don't know that it smells, that kind of seems like one big practical joke on the rest of the world, doesn't it? Now, for us in our house, the virus was minor, and we feel very blessed that has been the case. But we know that hasn't been like that for everyone. And in fact, we have people very close to us, even right now, who are struggling through the virus, and I've had many friends who have struggled through and have been hospitalized a number of times, and have a few different families even that we know now who are just not doing great, and it has stolen something. And friends of ours, in fact, staff members who have it right now, and it's stolen their time with family this Christmas. And even beside the virus, 2020 has just been a year where things have just happened that don't seem to make sense. I have a friend of ours that I grew up with in Florida. He's my age. I went to school with him. His mom was one of our youth leaders at our church that we grew up in. And he is losing right now his battle with pancreatic cancer. In fact, they just found out a couple of days ago that his cancer was not responding to the chemotherapy they were giving him, and it's spread, and he's kind of out of options at this point. He's going to be sent to hospice care, and you just wonder how he's got 3 kids, loves the Lord, and yet this year has stolen something from him. Man, it's not unlike the Christmas story, actually. And when you read the Christmas story, I think, especially at this time of year when you're seeing all the movies and you're seeing all the ads on TV and you're going to the stores to find gifts and there's all the get-togethers that we would typically have, the meals that we would share together, the memories that we're going to make, we think of this Christmas story almost in light of our own experiences, that they're one big happy time with family, when in fact what actually happened in the Christmas story was anything but. In fact, I want us to look at that together today. What we see here at the start of the Christmas story is that an angel appears to a teenage girl who is technically, according to the law, married, but still a virgin, and she's told by this angel that she's going to carry a child. In Luke 1, it says this. It says, "In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to the city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. And he came to her and said, 'Greetings, O favored one, the Lord is with you.' But she was greatly troubled at the saying and tried to discern what sort of greeting this might be." Don't gloss over this for a second. In fact, most of the time when angels appeared to anyone, the first thing the angel had to say was, "Do not fear," fear not, because whoever they appeared to, the Bible tells us it's usually that they were trembling with fear, or that they feared for their lives. So Mary's trying to discern, what in the world is this angel trying to tell me? And then what he says to her, it could have been a death sentence. Joseph could have charged her with adultery and had her stoned to death. Likely, at minimum, she was looking at a divorce and public shame. So just think about her walking to her husband to tell him the news. Think of all the things going through their head. And then, just before the baby is born, we see this at the beginning of Luke 2. We see, in those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius was governor of Syria. And all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. Just think about the struggle that's there in just this passage, that again, we think through in just this nativity scene kind of way. Mary, pregnant, and they have to travel because of a census. 90 miles, pregnant on a donkey. And then when they arrive, there's nowhere for them to stay. There's no room in the inn, so they find refuge in a stable, a barn. Remember what barns are used for. I think we forget that sometimes. And a barn. Can you imagine the anxiety of having to give birth in a barn in a city where you know no one? No family, no friends there to help. Just mentally place yourself there for a second. And then, once Jesus was born, the king Herod sends spies to go find Jesus so that he can kill them. Look at what it says in Matthew 2. It says this, "Now when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, 'Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him.'" I mean, can you imagine having to pick up everything and move to an entirely different country because the leader of your country wants to kill your child? Like, process that for a second. That could be devastating news that would wreck anyone. And then, it doesn't stop there. It says when the king realizes that the spies that he sent haven't come back, he orders the death of all boys under the age of 2. How helpless would you feel? I mean, how hopeless would you feel? How hard would your heart be breaking for the people that you know and love who have a boy who's 2 or younger? All right. And I think if Satan could speak to you right now, which we're not going to let him do that, but I think if Satan could speak right now, I believe that he would want you to feel like you have no hope. In fact, I think that's what Satan has tried to steal more than anything in the year 2020, is he has tried to steal your hope. And he has us convinced that our hope is placed here on earth and what we experience. And he has us convinced that our hope is found in our comfortability here. But that's not where our hope lies. That's not where our hope lies. Our hope lies in this baby that was born named Jesus. Because in that same Christmas story that was full of struggle and anguish and awfulness, that same story is also filled with hope. See, in Matthew 1:19 through 25, it says, "And her husband Joseph, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means, and this is such good news, God with us. And when Joseph awoke from his sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife, but knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus." See, the teenage girl was not stoned to death or even divorced. Joseph loved and honored his wife and raised Jesus as his own. He didn't keep his eyes focused on the mess. He didn't miss what God was up to. He didn't miss the hope. And the spies that were sent to help the king kill Jesus get to see God in flesh, and they worshiped him. In Matthew 2, verses 10 through 12, it says, "When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshiped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh, and being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way." See, those spies, we don't call them spies. We know them as the wise men. And they recognized Jesus for who he was. They didn't miss the hope. And well, even in the midst of tragedy, God proves to us that he keeps his word. And even though an awful thing happened when Herod ordered all of that to happen to try to find Jesus and to kill him, even in the midst of obscene tragedy, God keeps his word. Matthew 2:23 tells us, "And he went and he lived in a city called Nazareth." So that's what was spoken by the prophets might be fulfilled, that he would be called a Nazarene. See, God is faithful to his word. He does not lie to us. We will go through hard things. We may go through 2020s again. We will go through things that are not fair. We will go through things that hurt us to our core. We will go through things that make us feel like everything is falling apart. But in the midst of that, we find Jesus. He is our Emmanuel. He's our God with us. God left heaven to come be with his children. And see, this has been a hard year for my family as well. We've gone through some things that no family wants to go through, and it's been a 2020 year for us as well. But it'd be real easy to stay focused on that. And look, and I'm not saying that if you've had a hard year that you should just be so thankful and just be kicking up daisies as you walk. Hard things are hard things. But don't let Satan convince you that there's not any hope to be found. Because our Emmanuel, God is with us, is still that God with us. And we got one of the greatest gifts we could ever get this year. And I'm going to try to get through it without crying. There it is. That's my 7-year-old. That's my Owen. A couple weeks ago, we've been reading through our Advent book. And he's had questions. He's been asking questions for the last couple months. He's really been wanting to take communion. And just let me tell you, that wafer that you just ate, he finally got to experience that because my 7-year-old son, Owen, gave his life to Christ a couple weeks ago. And so, don't let Satan lie to you. Do not let Satan lie to you that there is no hope to be found. There's this beautiful verse that tells us that our God has gone through every temptation that we have gone through. And I think one of the greatest temptations that we can fall into the end of this year is that there is no hope. And that is a lie. There is always hope because there is Jesus. He is our God with us. So do not miss what he is up to. Do not miss what he is doing. Do not miss Jesus this Christmas. Do not miss the hope.